Watching markets at noon on ET now. Let's connect with the management of Shalby Hospitals. They've acquired implant assets from Consensus Orthopedics for 85 crore rupees. It's quite an interesting acquisition. We have with us the management then to talk about this, Mr. Shanay Shah. He's the president of Shalby Hospitals. Thank you so much, Mr. Shah, for joining us today on the show. So if you could talk to us about the rationale behind this buyout of Consensus Ortho's implant assets, how does it essentially add value to Shalby's overall portfolio?
Hi, good afternoon to you and all your viewers. Thank you for having me here. I think it is a very big benefit to us in terms of backward integration because, as you all know, that Shalby controls about 15% of, the market share in the orthopedics in the private space in India. And we conduct about 10,000 plus joint replacements in a year. So essentially, this will be a great potential for us to kind of procure from this company. And there will be significant advantages in terms of, the price at which we buy implants from other companies vis-a-vis what we will be procuring, from this particular company in the US. The second thing is that, the business itself had a good revenue stream coming in from the US. In 2018, they did about $15 million of sales in the US, about 11 million in 2019. This was all pre-COVID. So there is an existing, brand recognition of this particular company in the US that we will be benefiting from additionally over and above our internal consumption.
Okay, so Mr. Shah, just to understand that a part of this would be diverted towards your, of course, the core hospital services, the internal consumption, as you mentioned, and the rest would, of course, be, used for external implant sales as well. So how would the split be like? And overall, what will be the contribution of implant sales to your top line? Where do you hope it to be?
Well, the way we see it is that, the business can easily contribute between 15 to 20% of sales in the next 2 to 3 years. Having said that, the company has a potential, to kind of manufacture about 20,000 implants a year, right? So basically, and Shalby itself, the orthopedic business of Shalby is growing at a good 10 to 15% every year. So, as that number will grow, it's fair to say that nearly all the consumption can be really used for Shalby's internal consumption. Over and above that, we are also, as you all know, we are coming up with a new franchisee model, and we are very bullish on that. And because of COVID, that plan has been slightly postponed. So once the franchisee businesses also kicks in for us, a large part of it can be consumed internally. Having said that, the average realization of a particular joint in the US is a lot more than in India. So ideally speaking, if we get a good opportunity to sell in the United States where the products are already US FDA approved, that would be our first choice.
Right. So let's talk about the situation here in India and what's really happening because of COVID and the sort of things. You think it will have an impact on the overall costing? Because really, when you look at the non-COVID business, that's what drives margins for any of the hospital company. How would you look at the current situation then?
Well, the current situation, if you look at it, it is highly profitable for us, even the COVID business. So, in the sense that, of course, the average revenue per occupied bed, for a COVID patient is a lot lower. But at the same time, when it comes to the expenses, they are also much lower. So, the cost incurred for specialists, the cost of raw materials, etc., is also much lower. So it's a very highly margin accretive business for us. Having said that, yes, the bread and butter of the company lies in elective work. And as we see that, as we are seeing that the number of cases are going down, we believe that the elective work will pick up again. Like we saw a major spike in the months of Feb and March in terms of the non-COVID work. In fact, the company did the highest ever non-COVID work during this time in the company's history. So, there is a significant pent-up demand, and we believe all of that will come in once the COVID cases come down.
Correct, I can understand that. But, once the COVID cases come down, you expect a lot more walk-ins, planned surgeries to happen ahead. That's what you were trying to say?
In the last 1 year, I think the orthopedic surgeries that we would have done, although our EBITDA, absolute EBITDA is the same, the number of orthopedic surgeries that we would have done would be around half. So, that other half, along with what was supposed to come in this year, will all come in the current fiscal year. So, we are very optimistic from that perspective that once COVID subsides over the next few weeks, all this demand will start coming back into the hospitals.
Right. Just when we talk about the healthcare system, what do you think will be the changes after the second wave? How should one prepare for the third wave? Or, how should one look at preparation of the third wave, considering that we cannot now rule it out after such a sharp surge in COVID cases earlier?
Correct. Of course, you cannot rule it out. Even the previous pandemic that we saw had 4 waves, and, we are just in the second one yet. However, nobody can say whether, we will have a third wave or not. But as we have seen, I think the country's infrastructure has kind of built up in a way and managed the crisis, over the last few weeks. And I think we are all prepared to, deal with any more waves that may come in. The government is also, kind of very, very active on this front in the sense that, they are also ramping up infrastructure, and they are also keeping the private sector in loop. So I think, which is a good sign. I think together the private sector and the government, I believe, will be able to handle the third wave, because the second wave has really taken the test, for all of us.
Right, sir. Just in terms of, the vaccine drive, how do you think that can be increased from here on? There is a massive shortage as far as vaccine is concerned. But over the next 6 months, how do you expect, that to change?
Well, I think, a lot of the different vaccine companies are getting approvals in India now. So I think going forward, we should not have a vaccine shortage. Shalby and its group hospitals are all prepared to kind of give 500 plus vaccines per day. So, at a group level, we can do more than 5,000 plus vaccines per day easily. Having said that, yes, you're right. There are supply chain issues at this point of time. And I think the government and all the companies are taking the right steps in order to make sure that over the next few months, a large part of the population is vaccinated.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time for us. Always good to get perspective from you.